So I pretty much use my same technique of working out money savings and carbon savings. My partner's a courier. She used to, for Everett, she used to drive 2003 Berlingo in the kind of repair, reuse, recycle mode. That one came from the scrapper. And I knew how many miles per gallon she did, and I know stuff about the carbon and fuel. So I worked all that lot out. And I was very sceptical of EVs in the same way as I was of heat pumps. So there's loads of stuff on the internet. You watch YouTubes, you go look at the specs, work stuff out, write it down. And I took one for a test drive, then I took one for a test drive for 2 days around her actual, where she delivers. Looked at the miles per gallon and the number of kilowatts it needed to do all of that. I worked out that roughly speaking, it would save about 9 tonnes or 8 tonnes of carbon per year, and around about, well, it would pay for itself in about 7 years, because the price difference between electricity in the middle of the night and diesel from the petrol station, or petrol, is absolutely huge. And your EV goes about 4 times as far with a bit of energy as your petrol car does, and the cost is about 1/5 of what your diesel is. And I've just been up to Aberdeen and back in a hire car, an EV, just to see if I could. Now it's 1,600 miles, and it was that did even better than what we used, because it's not stopping and starting all the time. And it was about 1/5 of the cost and 1/4 of the emissions. And I use a different type of emissions to what Elliot and everybody else uses. I use the ones that relate to 10 years' time, not to 100 years' time, which basically doubles the amount of carbon associated with the electricity we get in this county. And it also puts some real figures on gas, as well as petrol and diesel. So I look at it in a slightly different, more near-term way. So anyway, yeah, EV, fantastic. In the cold weather, it's a little bit scary because they don't do quite so well. But by the end of this year, we'll be getting the batteries that they've got in China. They've had them for a year, and they work down to -20 without any difference. So there's a lot of tech out there that's coming towards Europe from China. And because Karen's here, I thought I'd put this one in. So I've been running a rainwater harvesting system for about 4 years now, and about last week it finally paid for itself. The whole 420 quid that it cost me got paid back. I'm probably one of the rare people that has a surface water drainage discount of a massive £23 a year.
Something like that.
So you can put in like 200 hours work and you'll get £23 off YTL back for it. But I've used about 70,000 litres of water in the last 4 years. It's all come off my roof and my next door neighbour's roof. And I use that to drive my downstairs toilet and my washing machine. So, yeah, that makes me feel really happy. If I was going to do it again, there's 1 or 2 things that I would do slightly differently, get it working much faster. But the really amazing thing is this pressure switch, which is from the well industry. It basically it senses when you turn a tap on or you turn your washing machine on it, and it switches a pump on straight away, which sucks water out of my tanks, which are underground, and it puts them into the water system that just connects up the toilet and the washing machine. And it does it so fast that there's no problems with pressure. So things just, don't go like it. So again, really pleased with that. It makes you very aware of the rain, as well as rainfall, because I stick a stick in it every day and record how much I've actually used. Because again, I'm slightly weird. But yeah, doing all this stuff, it makes me feel happy that A, I'm beating the system, and B, I'm doing the right thing as well. And the more of it I have, it's a good antidote to all the bad stuff. When you're doing good stuff, it's a great antidote to all the bad stuff.
On your rainwater harvesting, you're showing 2 tanks. So have you actually got 2 tanks, or is it 1 big tank?
I do, yeah. There's one at the end of each of those yellow arrows there. So they're actually underneath those bits of grey wood.
How big is a 1,000 litre tank?
That's a metre by a metre by a metre,
Okay.
or 1,000,000 cubic centimetres.
No, it's really. Yeah, a metre by a metre by a metre.
Yeah. Yeah, so just on that, if you had something that was a metre by a metre by a metre, and you put 1,000,000 sugar cubes in it, that's how much a million is. And when we talk about parts per million of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, if you coloured 420 of those sugar cubes blue, that's how much carbon dioxide we've got in the atmosphere for every metre that you can see around here. So that's quite an interesting one.
And there's 2.
There's 2, yes.
2,000 litres, is that enough for
That's right. No, the council I did probably 6 years ago. For my house, I probably need 3. But when I came to work it out just how big a hole that was, I looked at it and I put one of my IBCs back on eBay. So each of my tanks cost me £35. And the pressure switch is about 80 and the pump is about 60. And that's kind of most of the stuff you need, apart from a lot of other grease. But it was half an hour a day of digging for about a week, and a wheelbarrow and spade, so that was all right. Yeah, so on the left-hand side here, so these were recovered from the building site just round the back of me. They made a fence and put panels up, so I half-inched those when they weren't looking, with their permission. So they're over the top. And basically, it sucks water up. There's a bit of 1-inch grey normal like farm pipe which you can get locally. Then a little bit of a flexible pipe goes through a little filter, comes up through the pump, up through the pressure switch, and then it just goes down into normal 15mm copper. And behind there is my heat pump, so you can't see that. You have to come around and look quite close if you want to see it.
Do you have to, there might be a question from Karen, do you have to colour code your pipe in your house that it's not drinking water?
I do have some little bits of insulation tape on it, yes, for my own benefit. No, I'm slightly grey on 2 water regulations, but there's nothing too arduous that you actually have to do. It is sensible to be careful because you wouldn't want to mix them up. It's like non-return valves and proper switch off stuff. But again, it was an interesting challenge, I think. And I did put that in before I even knew about climate stuff. I just, again, wanted to beat the system. Okay, so there's lots of other ways as well. So if you want help with what you've got in mind, there's all sorts of people in this town, like Zero Chippenham, for instance. Extinction Rebellion, I've done a bit of that, but I've spent hours talking to people about all sorts of stuff. And there's so many people out there that have done perhaps what you're thinking about doing. The CSE, Avonese Trees, I would say surf and watch YouTube, just tell it what you want to see. iPlayer as well, stuff on there. Watch your Climate Alliance, there's a whole people who are interested in all sorts of different things. And you can tune in, you can ask for stuff to be talked about. I found it really useful. And in the case of the heat pump, I kind of buddied up with some other people that were going through the same stress. It is stress, but we all know what the target is. When you get there, it's well worth it, so it's worth doing that. I've also been interested, on the back of planting trees, of kind of giving some of my plastic waste a second life. And I've got an alley just outside the back of my house, and it's probably not allowed, but so what. I've got some old pallets, and I've got a technique for making some shelves where you don't have to buy anything, just using a hammer and a saw. And so I thought, could I actually do that? So these are like self-watering shelves, and I actually collect soil that gathers in this gutter here. It fills up with soil, and then I collect that soil, put it inside chopped up, containers. And then I thought, well, it's north facing, I've no idea if anything's going to grow, so I'll just give it a go. And people steal them, and they put aluminium cans and stuff all over it, which are squash up and recycle for money, so that's fine. But I was actually just amazed that stuff grows, and I don't really care what grows, because we know we've got an insect problem, we know we've got a biology problem, as well as an atmosphere problem. And this year I've actually put a load of leaves and soil that I scooped up from the alley, just down here to make a flower bed there as well. So yes, it's coming on okay. And as long as the people that steal them don't throw them anywhere and actually use them, I've kind of come to terms with that. So I just buy bags of 30 bulbs from Lidl or whatever and put them in there. And then there's other stuff you can do that doesn't necessarily cost any money at all. So again, another great insulator is ivy. So I've got that up the front and the back of my house now. So it's about 5 degrees of insulation it will give you from sun and cold. It's free and it's good because little bugs and things live in it. So I'm trying to cover the front of my house over the last couple of years with ivy and then other climbers to give a bit of colour there. It's kind of to do with shade as well. And around all of the front of my house, I've got my favourite tool, which is a 20-inch angle grinder, massive amounts of dust, and just cut the edges off my concrete paths and around the front of my house. And basically put soil in it and just planted stuff to see if it will grow. And actually it's really nice. Yeah, so that's, there's the other ones as well. The soil we also have to look after. That's where a lot of life is down there. But a lot of this stuff is kind of free. So I'm quite happy with that. And then the last thing I'd done most recently was actually a pergola. So the same fence that was around the building site, I went and skip raided and got all the bits of wood that they were going to send off to Drax to burn, and bought myself a router and spent some happy hours making a pergola. I also tend to keep a track of how long it takes me to do stuff. So I plan it in Excel, all the little steps in a job. I have an estimate of the cost it's going to take me in hours and in money. I have lists of this, that and the other. I tend to hyperlink stuff when I'm surfing so I can remember where I saw the price for this, and then in 3 years I can come back and buy a replacement bit for one as well. And all of that lot adds up to an idea of what I thought it would cost me in time and money, and then what it actually cost me in time and money. And it takes me about twice to 4 times as long to do anything as I thought it would, and it usually costs a little bit more money to do it than I thought it would. But again, that's me. And then I also do quite a bit of research in the background as well, and trying to compare stuff that we're told is bad. You know, why am I doing all this stuff? How do I get my head around the numbers? And probably one of the final things that I realised was the diet side of things. So I spent about probably a year and a half with the support of my partner moving towards becoming a vegetarian, and trying to get off dairy. And really, there's some quite amazing figures, you know, just putting these things together. So 100 litres, which is maybe most people filling up their car twice, perhaps. That's half a tonne of CO2e from the ICE vehicle. And that was part persuading me to get an EV. I thought, crikey, I should have done that first. And I should have done that first, because that actually creates more damage than my coal fire did, or my wood burner did. But I didn't realise until 5 years later I should have started there, which is really weird. I picked up that one there, so I guess I hadn't flown for 5 or 6 years, and then I just looked at those figures. I thought, well, that's good. CSE are the ones that put out, they've got a carbon impact tool for parishes and counties. So each person, I think it is, on average in Wiltshire, we're responsible as a group for 18 tonnes of carbon dioxide equivalent each. And your solar panels will offset about 1 tonne. So this is kind of the reality, but we all think solar panels and heat pumps maybe 3 tonnes. So 1 tonne saving from my solar panels, 3 from my heat pump, 7 from my car, that's about 11 or 12, and there's 2 people living in my house. So I've actually got solar panels on my children's houses as well, which I count as my estate, effectively. And there's some people you can't put panels on your own house, so have a look at your close relatives, and I put them on there, guys, I don't care. And I'll put them on there. You can, if you want to pay me something back from them, you can, but you can use them, and as long as I can put them on your roof space to get rid of my carbon emissions, then I'm a little bit happier. But this was the biggie. So I've done a fair bit of academic research, and that's an American cow. They're the worst because they do really bad things with their silage and stuff. They leave it in the sun, mental. But over here, our cows are about 24 tonnes, so they're not very good, our cows. So that's kind of really spurred me on to get off the ruminant food and try and stop doing milk. So yeah, so there's plenty of reasons, and there's plenty of things to do. Some of it's really bad, and some of it's absolutely fantastic. And I probably would iterate as well what Karen said, or what Matt said. Again, if you just fancy digging a hole, dig a hole in your garden, fill it up with concrete, plenty of that around, and then take the water off your roof, so that when it pours with rain, our sewage doesn't end up in our river and killing it. And that's something that everybody can do. Or you can start off with a water butt, put that there, it's a little bit of a buffer, and then overflow that into your garden rather than into the sewage. And I feel that's one of the most important things you can do is to stop your rainwater going down the rainwater gutters, especially if you live in urban Chippenham. If you can put it into your garden somewhere, then it's like this massive beneficial help throughout the environment, which is as important as all of our house retrofits, really. Anyway, I'll stop there. Won't that I can talk forever, guys. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Adrian. Before we do thank yous, I'm just going to remind people, if you want to find out about our PV scheme, just come up afterwards. Also, thermal emission cameras, we've still got some, still some time to use them. If you're interested in investing in a solar scheme, community solar scheme, again, leave us your name and we'll get in touch when it's ready. Karen's over there to talk to you about water. Warm and well, if you want to look at grants and what have you. Elliot. I think that's covered everybody in terms of the expertise in the room. So a big thank you to Matt for all the effort in organising this. Thank you to Elliot for your contribution. Thanks Adrian. Thanks Chris who's gone. Thanks Karen. And everybody who's here who's helped. Thank you very much indeed.